FBX, so I'm exporting this out of the FBX file, FBox file. So everything I'm just going to leave realistically kind of on the default and just hit OK. So I've now exported that out. So now let's minimize Max and let's go over to Unreal. So here I am in Unreal, or at the Unreal browser, and you'll see right here I've got a project already, but I'm going to set up a brand new project so I can show you how to set up a project. So I'm just going to go New Project, and I'm just going to choose First Person and then give it a name. And let's just say this is going to be NASA VR. Right, and it shows me where this is going to save to, which is my C drive, users, my name, my documents folder, and I have a folder that's Unreal Projects. You can save this wherever you choose to. I'm going to make it right now for desktop. Later on, we're going to do this for mobile, but right now, just to get stuff in there and kind of walk around and see it, we're going to do it for desktop. Maximum quality, and then no starter content. And it's going to, right now, this is going to be a first person one, and just say create. So Unreal needs some time to be able to build our kind of map. It'll put some default things into it. It'll put the first person camera in there with a gun, and it'll also make some objects in here. So some things are already in here. So how do you move around inside of Unreal? Well, if you use the left mouse button, that lets you be able to track to actually dolly the camera in and out, and also orbit the camera. And then if you hold the right mouse button, that lets you orbit the camera. Just orbit it. You can't move or anything, you can just orbit it. And then if you hold on the left mouse button and the right mouse button, you can kind of translate your camera where you want to. So left mouse lets you orbit and dolly, right mouse lets you orbit, left and right mouse lets you translate your camera. Or pan it, basically. So you can do like a nice smoke, right? So anyway, let's bring in our model. So down here in my content browser, I'm going to say import, and I'm just going to go to my folder on the desktop, my capsule folder, and I'm going to say I'm going to import this capsule.fbx and say open. When I import this, it's going to ask me, do I have a skeletal mesh? I don't. It's not a character. It's just a static mesh. And then I'm going to uncheck import textures and import materials. I'm going to show you how to do that manually. And I'm going to say import, and it'll bring my model in. It'll give me a feedback that there's no smoothing groups. That's fine. I did not set smoothing groups inside of Max when I left Max. So I know I don't have smoothing groups. That's fine. If I double click on my capsule right now, you can see here is my model. And my model is in here. It's got all the pieces to it. It's got all the UVs to it. And it even has, individual objects. It's even got individual maps in here. Because each one of these objects has a different map assigned to it. So even though they came in as one piece, they came in as one set piece, they still have individual, it still knows that it has individual textures that need to go on those 4 pieces. Well, actually 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 pieces. So it still knows that you have individual maps to go on there. So I'm going to close that for just a second. And I'm going to go in here and say import. And let's import all of those textures in here that I have. So there's my wall, there's my stairs, and there's my capsule, and there should be one in here for let's see, there's my, some of these are old, so I don't want to get the old ones with the new ones. There's the door, and that's this one. So these are the ones that I want. Now right now I don't have any normal maps, or I don't have anything else. I'm going to show you how to bring normal maps and stuff in another video. So just know that I don't have any normal maps and stuff right now, but I'm going to make normal maps in another video and show you how to do that with Shader Map Pro. So for this, let's start making our shaders. So I'm going to make my shader. I'm going to right click in just a blank space inside of my content browser, and you'll see it says create basic asset, and right here it's already got like a material, and if I click on that, I can name this. I'm going to call this capsule shader, right? and I'm going to make a couple of more of these because each one of my objects needs its own material. And so this is going to be capsule door shader. And you'll see it lets you know you have to have unique names inside of Unreal. Even if it's a texture or a static mesh, they all have to be different. They all have to be named something different. You can't have similar names. And I'm going to do material, and this one's going to be stairs shader. And then one last one, create material, and this one's going to be background shader. So I've got them all. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to do my capsule shader first. So I'm going to double click on my capsule shader, and it opens up the material editor here inside of Unreal 4. So what I want to do is, there's my capsule texture. I'm just going to left mouse click and drag that into the shader and then drop it. So here inside of my shader, how this works is the very first output, this is a composite output. It composites together the red, the green, and the blue, and it gives me my true image and lets me output that to a node that connects to the shader. The last one, the last one down here actually lets me output only alpha maps. So if I have an alpha in here, it'll let me actually bring that alpha out by itself. And it's not gonna, and you can see it does read the alpha for this. So the alpha is read correctly for my object. So it brings my alpha in the right way. So I'm just going to connect the composite channel because this is my color channel. This is where all my color is at. So there that is. There that go. And I'm going to say apply and save it. And then when I save it, I can close it. So I can close it now. So I'm going to open up my door shader and do the same thing. Let's grab my door texture. So you've got to be able to keep your stuff organized and know what you're doing, because if you don't, then it's just going to be a cluster of things. So there is my door texture, and then let's connect that to the base color, and that's good. And I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to save it. And then I can close this. So boom. So where's my other shader at? There's my door shader. I mean my stair shader rather. Let's get my stair shader. There's my stair diffuse map. And I'm going to drag this to the base color. So there that is. But I'm also going to connect up my opacity mask. So I'm going to go in here and activate my opacity. It looks like my opacity is deactivated on this shader. So let's go in here and say that I want, let's see if my mask will actually activate. There we go. So what I did, because I wanted to use, I wanted to be able to use opacity with this particular one, what I did was I went to my shader type and made it translucent. Actually set a blend mode for this and did a mask for this rather. So I still have a surface and it's going to be masked, and the mask, I'm just using the opacity channel coming out of here, and you can see it basically did that. It kind of cut a hole in this and gave me that. So I'm going to say apply and then save. So that gives me the right thing. And then I've got one more shader to make. And my last shader is my background shader. So double click on that. And then there's my wall, which is my background. And then I'm just going to select the base color as I have for everything else. Apply it. And then save it. So how do we apply these shaders to our individual models? So I'm going to double click back on my actual static mesh. And there's my static mesh right there. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller because it gets kind of iffy when you're doing this stuff. So what I want to do and what I have to do is over here for my textures, I need to know what texture belongs to what. So you can see I can choose highlight on the little side menu. So this is actually very beneficial because by hitting highlight, I know which one belongs to what. So this right here, I'm going to select my door shader and then click on the little arrow right here, and that will apply the door shader to that piece. And you see it mapped it on there, everything's good. I will now click on highlight this element, that's my background. So I'm going to click on my background shader right here, and then click on the little arrow, and that will add it to this, and let's unhighlight it. So that is now working, that's now in there. And let's highlight this next element, that's my stairs. So I'm gonna actually select my stairs shader, and I think that's capsule. There are my stairs. So my stairs shader, and then bloop, put that on there, and then unhighlight it. And then the last one in here, of course, is going to be my actual capsule shader. So I'm going to click on this, and then boom. So you can see everything is now mapped. Everything is actually mapped on here pretty good. I actually like how this mapping is working. So I'm just going to save that and then close this. So now I can actually grab, I can left mouse click and drag that static mesh into my scene. So you can see there it comes, it's all in there. If I want to change the size of it, I can hit spacebar. Spacebar lets me get to my scale menu. So basically to get from translate, rotate, and scale, all you have to do is just keep hitting the spacebar button, and that'll actually cycle through those. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Get it large enough, put it on the ground, bring it in here. Let's bring it forward some. It's pretty big. Pretty big. Alright, so I'm going to hit play so that I can possess my character. And if I walk up to this, I can see that, look, I'm actually able to see my object, which is pretty freaking cool. It's in the game. If I shoot at it, things bounce off of it because it has collision turned on. And same thing with this. And I'm actually getting my shadows to be okay. I'm going to hit escape so I can come out of possessing my... So by default, I already have a light in here. If I hit spacebar, I can go to my rotate tool. And I'm just going to rotate this in the direction the light in my scene originally was at. So it's kind of... My light was kind of like this inside of that world. So I'm going to get it kind of at the same angle, something like that. So now if I look at this, you can see that my objects are actually interacting with light and they're working the way they should, and everything is cool. Everything's coming up roses. Alright, so everything actually is working out with this. This looks pretty cool. Once I get her in here, she'll be able to be she'll be sitting right there, and I can be able to walk up to her and see her. So this is kind of the original angle of the image. So I'll be able to walk over a little bit and see, kind of see that. And I've got this image that I've turned into a 3D model. Pretty freaking cool, if you ask me. So you can see my opacity map is working on this, and my textures and everything work on this. So you got to put in a little bit of work with this project. Realistically, inside of Photoshop, you need to break up all the elements of your picture into separate pieces so that you can bring that stuff into Max and use it as texture. Once you have it in there, then you can start to render your texture. Now, I know some people might be thinking, well, why would I want to render my texture? I can just use the images that came directly out of Photoshop. Well, you can't, because even though they were used to project onto the actual object, they need to still be able to make sure they're in the same place as the UVs that you made from earlier. So everything has to work together. So that's the reason why when I go into Max, I take this stuff and then do the render to texture. So when I come into Unreal, you can see that I've got, if I go back in here and possess my character again, so you can always hit Alt P and it'll possess your avatar. So you can see my objects are actually in here in 3D. I can interact with them, I can fire at them, and do really cool stuff to them. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to be able to bring your standard textures into Shader Map Pro and use Shader Map Pro's kind of image editing or kind of image generating properties and get some normal maps. Because right now these guys look really they look really flat, right? And we don't want to play with flat models, right? I mean, gotta get some pop to these textures. Gotta pop them, pop them, pop them, pop them. So we will look at how to use Shader Map Pro in our next lesson.